Have you ever sat down to check your bank app or credit card statement at the end of the month and felt that sinking feeling? You see it right there in black and white, a dozen little charges. $9.99 here. $14.99 there. $29.99 for something you swear you only signed up for once on a whim. That streaming service you barely watch anymore. The gym membership gathering dust. The meal kit delivery you used for 2 weeks before going back to takeout. And the productivity app that promised to organize your entire life, but now just organizes automatic withdrawals from your account. You know exactly what I'm talking about. These aren't big, obvious expenses that make you stop and think. They're quiet. They're sneaky. They're designed to blend into the background of your financial life until one day you realize they're quietly taking more from you every month than your utility bills or even your groceries in some cases. And here's the thing that really gets me. The person racking up all these subscriptions is probably you, or at least someone just like you. Someone with a regular job, regular bills, and the genuine belief that they're being smart with money. So what's going on here? How are millions of regular people somehow signing up for what feels like an invisible second mortgage made up of tiny monthly fees that add up to a fortune over time? I spend way too much time thinking about money and why people make the financial decisions they do. And if you've ever looked at your accounts and wondered where all your disposable income disappeared to, or felt like you're working harder, but somehow having less, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps explain this modern financial mystery. Now, before we dive into the mechanics of how this trap actually works, let me paint you a picture of what we're actually dealing with here. The subscription economy has exploded in ways that would have seemed completely insane just 15 years ago. We're not talking about a few magazine deliveries or basic cable anymore. The average person today is juggling between 8 and 12 active subscriptions. And some studies show the real number climbs even higher when you count everything from streaming to software, fitness, delivery services, cloud storage, news apps, and even virtual goods. The numbers get even more shocking when you look at the spending. On average, Americans are shelling out around $220 every single month on subscriptions. Let me say that again. $220. That's not the high end. That's the middle of the road. For many households, especially when you include everything they're signed up for, it creeps toward $270 or even more. That's over $2,600 a year. And here's where it gets really interesting. Most people dramatically underestimate this number. When surveyed, the typical person guesses they're spending around $100 or less. They're off by a factor of 2 or 3. They simply don't see it all adding up until it's too late. But it gets worse when you zoom out. These costs have been climbing fast. Streaming services alone have seen price increases that add up to $20 or more per month for the average household compared to just a few years ago. What used to be 1 or 2 streaming services has become 4, 5, or 6. And it's not just entertainment. Everything from your phone's cloud backup to your favorite recipe app to your workout platform now wants a recurring bite of your income. You might be thinking, well, maybe this is just inflation or the cost of modern life. Maybe people are just making more money these days and can't afford these conveniences. And if that's what you're thinking, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's not what's happening at all. Wages haven't kept pace with this explosion of recurring charges. The median household is feeling the squeeze everywhere, yet somehow these subscriptions have become normalized to the point where people don't even question them anymore. The truth is, there's a whole system designed to make these ongoing payments feel painless, even invisible. And understanding how this system works isn't just about satisfying curiosity. It's about protecting yourself from what I call the death by 1,000 cuts. A financial slow bleed that can quietly destroy your ability to build real wealth for years or even decades. Understanding this trap could be the difference between feeling perpetually broke despite a decent income and finally getting control of your money. Let's start with the most obvious question. How exactly are these subscriptions trapping people in the first place? Because when I tell people the real numbers, not the ones they think they're spending, but the actual total, they usually assume I'm exaggerating or that it only applies to someone else. The average person isn't just subscribed to Netflix anymore. They're paying for multiple video platforms, music services, fitness apps, meal kits, news outlets, storage solutions, productivity tools, dating apps, learning platforms, and even transportation services that charge monthly fees. And it's not uncommon to see households with combined subscription costs that exceed what many people used to pay for their entire cable package back in the day. We're talking about payments that total thousands upon thousands of dollars over just a few years. And that's before you factor in the annual price hikes that most companies quietly roll out without much fanfare. Now you might be thinking, it's only 10 or 15 bucks here and there. What's the big deal? And that exact thought is precisely why this trap is so effective. Those small numbers feel manageable, they fly under the radar, but they compound in ways that traditional one-time purchases never do. So how are people falling into this? The answer lies in a combination of factors that have fundamentally changed how we consume everything from entertainment to productivity. And none of these factors are necessarily good news for the people signing up. First, let's talk about the free trial trap. This is ground zero for most subscription horror stories. Remember when a free trial actually felt free? Those days are long gone. Companies have mastered the art of the frictionless sign-up. You enter your email, maybe your card details just to verify you're real, and suddenly you're enjoying 7 days or 30 days of whatever service they're offering. The appeal is obvious. Who doesn't love trying something before committing? But here's the thing that these companies definitely don't want you to understand. The entire system is built on the assumption that you'll forget to cancel. The trial period is deliberately timed at to end right when you're busiest or most distracted. The cancellation process is often buried behind multiple menus, requires jumping through hoops, or is hidden in settings that aren't clearly labeled. Some services even make you call a phone number during limited business hours instead of letting you cancel online. It's not an accident. This is what experts call a dark pattern, a design choice meant to make canceling far more difficult than signing up. By the time the first charge hits your card, you've often already mentally moved on. The service has become background noise. And because it's only $10 or $15, you tell yourself you'll cancel it next month. But next month turns into the month after that, and suddenly you've been paying for something you haven't used in 6 months. This pattern repeats across multiple services until you're carrying a portfolio of forgotten subscriptions like invisible weights on your budget. The second major factor is the silent price increase game. This one is particularly brutal because it happens so gradually that most people don't even notice. Walk into any subscription service and you'll see they rarely announce price hikes loudly. Instead, they send a polite email buried in your promotions tab or simply update the terms. 1 month your favorite streaming bundle is $60. The next it's $68, then $75. Over 2 or 3 years, what started as a reasonable expense is quietly increased by 30 or 40%. Here's what most people don't think about when they see that small increase. These hikes compound across every service you're subscribed to. That 10% jump on 5 different platforms suddenly adds another $30 or $40 to your monthly total without any additional value. And because each increase feels small on its own, your brain doesn't register the cumulative pain. It's like the boiling frog metaphor. The temperature goes up so slowly that you don't realize you're being cooked until it's too late. Even worse, many companies now use algorithmic pricing that can raise rates based on your usage patterns or perceived willingness to pay. If you've been a loyal subscriber for years, they might actually charge you more because their data shows you're less likely to cancel. The system rewards inertia and punishes loyalty at the same time. Then there's the bundling and ecosystem lock-in game, which has become one of the most sophisticated ways companies keep you trapped. Here's how it typically works. You start with one convenient service, maybe Amazon Prime for the free shipping. Then you notice that Prime Video comes with it, so why not use that instead of paying for another streamer? Before you know it, you're inside the Amazon ecosystem. Your music, your ebooks, your storage, your grocery delivery, everything is tied together. Canceling one piece feels like unraveling a carefully constructed web that suddenly makes your life less convenient. Apple, Google, Microsoft, and others play this game masterfully too. Your phone storage fills up, so you upgrade to iCloud Plus. Then you get Apple Music recommended seamlessly. Then Apple TV Plus, then Fitness Plus. Each new service feels like a natural extension rather than an additional cost. The convenience is real, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. You're not just buying a product anymore. You're buying into an entire lifestyle platform that makes leaving feel disproportionately painful. The bundling creates what I call the subscription hamster wheel. You're running faster and faster, adding more services to get the full experience, but you're actually falling further behind financially. The companies love this arrangement because it creates customers for life. Once someone is locked into 3 or 4 services from the same provider, the mental effort required to switch or cancel becomes enormous. They become a captive audience, constantly being upsold on the next logical subscription in the chain. But perhaps the most concerning trend is how normalized and even aspirational these subscriptions have become. People who would never dream of paying full price for a software program or a gym membership somehow convince themselves that 12 different monthly fees are perfectly reasonable for a modern lifestyle. Think about it this way. If someone told you they were spending $250 a month on random vending machine snacks, you'd probably raise an eyebrow. If they said they were dropping that much on lottery tickets or daily designer coffee, you'd assume they had a serious problem. But somehow, when it's spread across 8 different essential subscriptions, we just nod and say, well, everyone needs entertainment and convenience these days. This normalization didn't happen by accident. It's the result of incredibly sophisticated marketing that has convinced us that access is better than ownership, and that convenience is the ultimate luxury. Your subscriptions aren't just services anymore. They're signals about who you are as a person. The person with the perfect curated playlist across 3 different music services. The fitness enthusiast with multiple workout apps. The knowledgeable citizen subscribed to 3 news outlets. The parent with every kid's learning platform available. The subscription industry has become incredibly good at tapping into these psychological triggers. They don't sell you a movie streaming service. They sell you the feeling of never being bored, never missing out, always having the next best thing at your fingertips. That email about the new season dropping isn't just information. It's engineered to create FOMO, fear of missing out. That makes canceling feel like self-deprivation rather than smart financial management. This emotional manipulation makes it much easier for people to justify expenses that would otherwise seem completely irrational. When you're not just paying for a service, but buying into an identity of being the informed, entertained, optimized modern person, suddenly that extra $40 a month feels like an investment in yourself, rather than a leak in your financial boat. Let's get back to the practical mechanics of how these subscriptions actually work in monthly budgets. Because even with all the psychological tricks and dark patterns, $200+ every month is still a significant amount for most households. This is where things get really creative. And by creative, I mean potentially disastrous for long-term financial health. Many people are essentially restructuring their spending priorities around their subscription load without even realizing it. They'll cut back on eating out or vacations while keeping every streaming service active because I need something to watch. They'll choose the cheaper grocery options or skip small pleasures while paying for multiple meal kit services they barely use. Some are even taking on side hustles specifically to cover their growing list of monthly fees, essentially working extra hours so they can maintain access to entertainment and convenience tools. Others are using credit cards to float these payments, paying minimums while the interest quietly compounds. They're using high-interest debt to subsidize lifestyle subscriptions, which is like using a credit card to pay for yesterday's coffee. Technically, it works in the moment, but it's building a problem for tomorrow. The most concerning trend I've seen is how subscriptions have started to replace emergency funds and savings contributions. People tell themselves they'll cancel soon, while the money that could be going into retirement accounts or investment portfolios gets automatically deducted every month. Since most of these charges are small and automatic, they don't trigger the same mental pain as writing a big check, so the damage happens in slow motion. Now let's talk about the overlapping redundancy problem. This one might be the most frustrating of all. The average household today often pays for multiple services that do roughly the same thing. 3 different streaming platforms with overlapping content libraries. 2 music services. Multiple note-taking or productivity apps. Separate fitness apps when one good one would suffice. It's like paying rent on 3 different apartments that all have the same furniture. Mathematically impressive and financially terrifying. The psychological effect of managing all these subscriptions is fascinating and disturbing. People become experts at juggling due dates, remembering which password goes with which service, and deciding which ones to keep during budget crunches. But they lose sight of the bigger picture. They'll celebrate canceling one subscription while signing up for 2 new ones during a sale or free trial period. They measure success by their ability to stay on top of everything rather than questioning whether they need any of it in the first place. And then there's the annual price hike surprise that catches so many people off guard. You get comfortable with your total monthly burn, and then January or July rolls around, and suddenly your costs jump another $20 or $30 across the board. Many companies time these increases to coincide with new content releases or improvements, so it feels justified. But the math doesn't lie. Over 5 years, these creeping increases can add thousands of extra dollars to what you pay without any meaningful improvement in the service. The maintenance of all these accounts presents another hidden cost. Time is money, and managing passwords, updating payment methods, dealing with billing issues, and deciding what to keep takes real mental bandwidth. Many people simply give up and let everything ride because fighting it feels harder than just paying. Let's take a typical scenario and run the real numbers that most people never bother to calculate. Imagine someone with what they consider a normal, modern subscription load. They're paying for 3 streaming services at an average of $18 each after recent hikes. That's $54. Music streaming at $12. A couple of productivity or storage tools at $10 each. A fitness or wellness subscription at $25. Oh, a news or learning platform at $15. Meal delivery or grocery service at $30. Cloud backup and maybe a gaming or hobby service at another $20. Add in a few smaller ones. Dating app, meditation app, kids learning tools, and suddenly you're looking at $240 to $270 every single month. Over the life of, say, the next 7 years, assuming modest annual increases of 8 to 10% across the board, this person will spend somewhere north of $22,000 on subscriptions. $22,000. And at the end of those 7 years, they won't own anything tangible. No asset, no equity. Just 7 years of access to content and tools that will largely be forgotten or replaced by the next big thing. When you add it all up, this person is essentially paying the equivalent of a nice used car's worth of money every few years for digital access that disappears the moment they stop paying. That's not convenient consumption. That's wealth destruction with better recommendations and ad-free viewing. The most depressing part of this equation is what that same money could have accomplished if redirected. If someone took that $250 per month and invested it in a simple index fund, earning a conservative 8% annually, they'd have over $27,000 after 7 years. Not only would they have avoided the financial drain, they would have actually built real wealth instead of renting their entertainment and tools month after month. Over 20 years, that same habit could mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and still living paycheck to paycheck. But here's the psychological trap that makes this cycle so hard to break. Once someone commits to this subscription lifestyle, they develop what I call subscription Stockholm syndrome. They become emotionally attached to their monthly charges. The services aren't just tools anymore. They're part of their identity, their daily routine, their way of signaling that they're a modern, informed, entertained person. The idea of canceling multiple services feels like admitting failure or accepting a lower standard of living. This emotional attachment makes rational financial analysis nearly impossible. When someone suggests they could save $2,000 a year by ruthlessly auditing their subscriptions and keeping only what they actually use, they don't hear a practical financial strategy. They hear an attack on their right to enjoy modern conveniences and stay culturally relevant. They'll defend their streaming lineup with the same passion they defend their favorite sports team. The subscription industry understands this psychology better than most people understand themselves. They've spent billions researching exactly how to trigger these emotional responses and convert them into recurring revenue. They don't focus on the total cost of ownership. Instead, they focus on seamless signups, personalized recommendations, social sharing features, and the fear of missing out. The sign-up process has been refined to overcome every rational objection a person might have. Worried about the cost? Here's a free trial. Concerned you'll forget to use it? We'll send you reminders and new content highlights. Nervous about canceling later? Don't worry, you can do it anytime, even though the interface makes it difficult. So they make it feel painless in the beginning and painful to leave later. So there you have it. The mystery of how people are affording, or more accurately, failing to notice. All these subscriptions isn't really a mystery at all. It's a carefully orchestrated system of dark patterns, psychological triggers, silent price increases, and ecosystem lock-in. Would make a magician jealous. People aren't actually getting ahead by subscribing to everything. They're just kicking the financial can down the road while convincing themselves that this is what modern life requires. The next time you open your banking app and see another wave of small charges, remember that each one seemed reasonable when you signed up. And maybe, just maybe, that simple list of the 3 or 4 services you actually use and love is looking a lot more attractive than the sprawling empire of monthly fees you've been carrying. Taking control doesn't mean living like it's 1995. It means being intentional about where your money goes every single month instead of letting it leak away automatically. Your future self, the one who might actually own their time and their money instead of renting their entertainment, will thank you for it.